Glad you guys made it. We're recording this. We've got a few people on Zoom. Welcome Zoomers. Jenna's here from Hawaii.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Committed.
So, yeah, guys, this is second to last leadership training. Our next one will be the retreat in St. George. If you haven't RSVP'd for that, or if you can't come and you know you're not going to be there, please let us know either way. We're booking stuff down there. It's going to be a fun weekend. We're going to be hanging out. We got a really sweet place at Desert Color, which has got like this kind of lagoon pool area. We're gonna go and do some big shots golf. We're gonna do some training. It's gonna be a great like last thing before we head out. But let's jump in here. All right, this Wednesday, we'll be doing our remote trainings in Rexburg and Cedar City. So let your teams know about that. We try and communicate and make sure those people that are remote in those regional areas feel connected.
Rexburg will be at the same place as last time, so the Spring Hill Inn and Suites or whatever.
Yeah, we recently changed that location, so we're gonna get that information out. And then we'll be here a week from that. 26th will be our next sales training here in Provo. It's time to start making sure that everybody's getting plugged into these. And we still have some reps that have signed that haven't got themselves into Slack and everything. So please just check your teams. And the best way to know is if you pull them up on Slack and it doesn't have their name, it has like their email user. That means they haven't set it up yet. They've been invited, but they haven't set it up. So if you see any of those people, just hit them up on text, just walk them through the process. Sometimes they just don't quite get it. But that's really, really important at this point to make sure everyone is in Slack. I've started booking housing and so we need people to be reachable and we need to get hold of them. And then we're doing a big recruiting activity. This is our last kind of activity of the preseason. And we're gonna be doing Provo Beach Resort or something like that. We're still researching a few places, but that'll be Thursday the 27th in the evening for all of our Utah County people, and feel free to come down if you guys want to come down for that. That'd be great, especially if you have recruits in the area. And then I just talked about our leadership training retreat in St. George. That'll be we'll have the place for 2 nights, Friday and Saturday night, just in case people want to hang a little longer on Saturday. But most of the stuff will be planned Friday night and Saturday morning and afternoon. We should be wrapping things up Saturday by like 3. That'll be our final leader training, and please let me know if you're in or out. And then the last thing, I just sent this on Slack, but if you guys could just jump on Point Marketing on Google and give us a review. We had this long story. It's a long story. I had this Karen that like blasted us on Google because I parked funny. And it has nothing to do with Point, but I'm like, let's bury this with some 5-star reviews because we only have 6 reviews. So I've disputed it with Google. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that. Just Google, just review us.
Karen came in one day just raging.
Anyway, all right. Recruiting statistics, we are at 100. We are 195 active reps signed. We've signed over 230, but we're at now 195 that are locked in and ready to roll. And we are really close to 200, and we're gonna blow past that. So great job, everybody who's been pushing, and keep it up. And this is how our teams are looking for the summer. So we have 8 teams this summer. We'll have an Ohio team that will actually start in Tennessee. And you can see we're on the right, kind of our footprint, but Virginia team that will start in Maryland and move into Virginia. Those 2 teams are really big. We got Alabama, New Hampshire, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Delaware. So we'll have 4 Palisade teams, 2.5 frontline teams, and then we'll have 1 in New Hampshire and the one in Ohio is a new company we're working with called Bug Shark. So we're really excited about where we're headed. Got some good traction. So I think that's it. Yeah, for me. So Parker.
Awesome. So I guess a couple last things on
here, actually, I was just gonna mention like one or two last things, and then we'll move forward into review, but the St. George thing's gonna be fun, like. We're a little bit light, today, I think Jackson Sorensen's still in Arizona, Gabe Marks is somewhere in the world. We have our big Vancouver group, but everyone's gonna be there, hopefully, that's our big push for St. George, so all leadership, everyone that's managing teams. We want there. I think we already have like 30 plus RSVP, right? 37. So like, it's gonna be fun. Just try to be there for that weekend. Tanner Tucker, like there's a lot of people that, a lot of our leaders are not here. And so, but we're all gonna be there and it's gonna be a fun community. And just like, we're gonna be brainstorming best practices. It'll be all things summer. So it's gonna be, all of the topics are gonna be focused on summer, how we can win, how we can dominate. So anyway, and we'll have a lot of fun as well. So that'll be great. I did want to just like highlight how awesome this is. So I think we have like 10 pending paperwork still. So we're basically like, once those come through, we're north of 200 reps. That's why we're doing Tucanos today. I want to just celebrate with you guys. Like, that's a big accomplishment. I'm super proud of all of you guys. Everyone here is pulling their weight and we're building and growing and it's so fun. Like, for me, like, business is kind of like a spiritual game, and like the impact you guys are gonna have on all of these people is gonna be so incredible. And so it's a fun time to be here. I'm super grateful to be a part of this with you guys and be building this with you. And man, we just have some people that are just crushing this year. And so kind of everyone top half there, like it's amazing what you guys are accomplishing. And I'm super proud of you guys. So, and then yeah, on this, growing, it's gonna be fun. We're in a lot of different markets this year. The Tennessee thing is new, obviously. We're doing that for all of April. Carter Northrup's gonna take a group there. Alabama's new with Palisade. That's gonna be so fun. We've sold in Alabama before a couple of years ago. We killed it there, and so we're excited to go back and kill it again. And then Ohio will be new. So anyway, it's gonna be a super fun year. Does anyone have questions on this? Or just like game plan for this year? Cool. Okay, so training review, and then today's topics are summer focused as well. So today we begin talking about summer. We're gonna get the ball rolling on best practices for delivering for our people, but also today we're gonna talk a little bit about personal production and how we can all level up, like how we can do more so that the ceiling is higher and standards are higher. We want to raise standards this year big time. So we're going to talk about summer stuff today, get the ball rolling on that, and then we're going to do a lot more of that here in a couple weeks in St. George. But training review, I guess, yeah, I just want to kind of have like a quick discussion on how training is going. What are you learning, I guess, is a good question. What are you guys learning as you're training your reps this year? What's something that's maybe stood out or something that you've learned about yourself as you've been training your reps this year? Noah?
I think as I've been training with a ton of these guys, like I'm not complacent, like I can always do better as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's big. Just trying to become better yourself as you're like helping out other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having that mindset of I haven't arrived yet, like the teacher a lot of times can be the student as well. And I've found, like, even having done this for a super long time, I'm always hearing little one-liners, even from like first year, second year reps, where I'm like, I love that. Like, I love that empathy line, or I love that tailored response. That works super well. And so being humble enough always, like I love following humble leaders that are always willing to add things to their arsenal in terms of like skill set, right? So I think that's awesome. Like, you're the teacher, you're going to become the master and more proficient as you are the teacher, because you have to know stuff, but being humble enough to know that there's stuff out there that you can go add as well. Just always be learning. Chad?
Something that I've been doing is I'm obviously going to the trainings in Rexford, but also meeting outside of some people that are under you, training with them and training with Andy too. First years, and I'm also training some another people out in Washington. It's really cool to see their drive and their motivation. And it's really true when you say that the teacher really does become the student, because even though I've done it for you already, there's still so much that I don't know.
Yeah.
Stuff that I'm learning as I'm saying it to them, and it just clicks on my oh my goodness. So I realized that I learn a lot better, a lot faster when I'm the one teaching it too.
Yeah.
And role playing.
Yeah, my personal production increased big time as I became a teacher and as I took that part more seriously. There's a lot of people I think in this room that can say that. Tanner had his best year by far last year, and there's no one I saw in the office more than Tanner last year training reps. Like he was on that whiteboard all off season long, training reps, walking through frameworks. And so like take that like trainer role seriously, and I promise not just will your reps do better, but it's this crazy 1-2 punch where you do way better as well because you're way more proficient and there's these, the inches are the big things, like those little adjustments that you make, they legitimately yield extra sales day in and day out. So this is the kind of like the checklist we want you guys using. So I announced this last time here maybe, but when our regionals are passing people off to get their travel bonus, this is what they're roughly going to be using, okay? So all things communication filters, making sure they understand good and bad practices with those. The 5 steps to the sales cycle and confidently being able to do those kind of through all angles, right? Like when inciting a response, can they do the trucks discount angle, but also the who do you guys have coming out this year for the bugs pitch, right? I want our regionals drilling and really like testing their reps, all of our reps on their competency this year. This will make them and you so much more money, and it will just deliver a way better experience. And so this is it. Like this is the test. This is what we're going to be using to test your first year reps. While I'm showing this, I don't have a slide for it, but there's another sheet that's like basically every objection you can get and at which stage. And we have a really nice PDF for that. By Tuesday, our regionals will have prepared an objection, like a response to every single objection as well. So a really good empathy statement, really good tailored response, and a really good close to literally basically every objection you can get through the entire sales cycle. And Theron that's on our meeting for Tuesday, but he's going to kind of like make that look prettier. And then we're going to have a PDF that goes out and you guys can use that in your trainings as we start to get into like objections, right? And we're kind of drilling rookies more on like a realistic customer. Because right now, early on it, the first couple weeks, it's very softball, right? It's like figure out the words. I'm going to be really light and just kind of let you walk me through it. But as we get closer, I want to start to really like, let's get more reps in terms of objections. So that's in the mix, and within a week you will see that posted on our Slack channel, and you guys can utilize that as you're training your reps as well. Noah, did you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to add anything else to the regionals, but I think it'd be valuable if there was like a list of soft closes and hard closes as well.
Love it. Yeah. Some of that will be worked in, but I think that we can work through that. Like making sure our reps just understand, like, if the customer's giving you good vibes, then go for a hard close, which can be more like trucks, discount, push the sale forward. If the customer's a little bit more closed off, what are the questions I can use to just extend conversations and open up the customer? That's a great thought. So any other thoughts or questions on training? Like obviously I just named one thing that we're planning on doing, but how else can we help you train your reps? What else can we do at a company level? Maybe one last thing I'll just ask before I move on is like, maybe some of you that are in a good rhythm with like in the implementation and the practice piece, maybe just raise your hand and just share what you got rocking right now, Mason.
So I've got a Google Calendar with like my school and work schedule that have like probably 2 or 3 hours every day of blocks, of 30-minute blocks.
Nice.
Whenever we start a rep, I'll send it to them and then they can schedule times with me to train. It works really well because I know it already works with me and they can just find a time that works for them. So that's something that's helped me a lot.
Nice. Love that. I think that's genius. Like in your weekly planning, block out, hey, I have these times open this week, fill me up. Like you can get, if it shows it's available, then it's available and I'll be there and we'll train. So I love that. Okay, sounds good. Let's move on. So, starting today, right now, and through, March, in these leadership trainings, we're gonna start talking about summer. So recruiting is still a focus, training is still a massive focus. The best way to retain your reps is to train them. So take care of your people and help them progress, and they will show up, in summer. But from here on, we're gonna talk about your expectations or the expectations we have for you in summer. So I guess that's the question. And some of these slides, if you've been with us for years, they're gonna look similar. Some of them are fresh, and we're trying to kind of add some new content. But yeah, just a simple question: what is expected of you this summer? Like, if you were to answer that question, okay, as a manager this summer, in simple terms, like, what is expected of me? What are my roles?
Lead from the front and bring people with you.
Love it. Tanner's been here before. Been here for a bit. So there's really, when it comes down to it, there are two jobs that you have this summer. It is lead from the front and throw down and create a very high ceiling, right, for what's possible. The second is to bring people with you. And when you do both of those at a super high level, this is 10 out of 10 times a 6-figure opportunity for leaders at our company. 10 out of 10 times. So, I bet of our managers last summer, 90% of them made 6 figures that did this. And the people that did it at a really high level made multiple 6 figures. And so this is an insanely amazing skill set that if you can learn, will change your life, you'll bless other people's lives. And so anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about going forward, is these two tasks. How do I lead from the front, but also do it while I'm bringing people with me, and not or, right? Like, how do I do this one thing and the other thing? So I love the word "and" a lot more than "or" in this regard. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so we're going to start with this idea of leading from the front. And we'll take a little bit of time today and have a really awesome discussion on that. A lot of the rest of it, like today and next time, is going to be tailored to taking care of your teams, because there's a lot that comes with that, right? So what are the ways you lead from the front? So like in what ways do you lead out and do this? What comes to your mind on that? Yeah.
I think something that actually just came to my mind was something that was sent like in July maybe or June of Dallin. He's like out in the rain and he comes back to his car and he takes a photo just so.
Love that. I remember that.
So I think that's just like, he's out in the rain, he's working, he's showing others it's possible to get sales and throwing down. So
Yeah.
I think at least for me, I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. That is so contagious. Like when you see another person doing that, that's a leader, man, it's that idea of like, we've all seen those graphics of like what a good leader is, and he's at the front and he's like charging, and those people are behind him, and he's like driving the vehicle forward, right? And then a bad leader's like whipping people from the back, like sell after dark and like sell higher contracts. And it's like, well, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're just sitting in that chair whipping me. So that is such a cool example of that. I remember a video of Jenna last year, sold this lady, and some lady gave you like underwear or something, like glow in the dark underwear or something funny. But it was like soaking wet, like pouring wet, and Jenna was like, "Let's go, baby, I make money in the rain." I have so many visuals in my head of like that same thing. Dallin's, Jenna's, like so many people last year that were doing this, right? And that stuff is beautiful. Like those are that's it. Good weather, bad weather, all of it. So I have a couple things listed here that I just think that if we'll focus on like kind of these pillars, then we're gonna have an amazing year. So obviously first is just revenue. Like I'm gonna talk about this here in a minute, but you guys are the ceiling. Whatever you do is the ceiling. And it is what is possible. Like in their frame and in their little world, first year rep or second year rep, what they see their leaders go and do is what is possible, right? Like you are the 4-minute mile, and if you don't go do it, and I know that's pressure, and that can keep you up at night a little bit, but it is what it is, right? Like, it's kind of what you signed up for, and so if you don't go do it, then you just have to understand no one's gonna go do. If I don't run the 4 minute mile, none of my reps are going to, right? And so killing it and selling a ton of revenue this year. There are some things that kind of like layer underneath that. This year, we're gonna make a really big push to have a much higher bundle ratio. So what that means, and it's gonna yield a higher contract, which is another one of these, but we're making some adjustments with a lot of our clients this year. And a lot of our clients are allowing us this year to do a little bit more of like a bundled service where like if it's mosquito or some of these ancillary services, they're allowing us to to bill for those monthly now so that to the customer, it feels less frictiony and we can sell $1,000, $1,200 contracts in a lot of the markets that we're in. And so we have a rate card that Theron and our regionals and I have built out. We've been intentional with it. But on one side of the rate card, it's bundle pricing only. And then if you flip it over, then it's GPC pricing. And we're going to lead with the bundle pricing when we get in their backyard and try to increase our bundle ratio so that our leaders can lead from the front in terms of contract value, which is the next one. But I think that contract value and these go hand in hand. And I think that you're stacking the deck in your favor if you have a high bundle rate, then the contract value thing will just inevitably follow, right? There were some reps last year that had some success with this. I think the Oklahoma team comes to mind. You guys had a pretty high bundle rate, and your contract value in Palisade markets was by far the highest. But I think we have a lot of room to grow because I think both you guys would say you guys discovered this, and all you guys sitting here, like Joe had bundled a ton, Mason, Dallin, so maybe if your group would just speak to that, Carter.
Yeah, I mean, if I can speak to it, Joe, I actually have to give credit to Joe because like from day one, he was bundling services. And I'm like, how did you sell that account for like a termite, mosquito, and a GPC? He's like, well, I just pitched it. It's like, okay, like maybe we just need to pitch it and then we'll actually get it. And so it was a little bit late for me, but like even, I think it was the first or second week in June, I started only pitching mosquitoes and I sold one other GPC account from June until September.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think Joe, we're talking about rookies that led from the front too, and like have taught our leaders things too. So anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so obvious, right? Like what you talk about, if you're gonna go pitch to a customer, then that's the thing that they're like making up their mind on, right? And so I think the idea is we're gonna lead with it. And no longer is it like this upsell thing, but we're gonna lead with it. And then you can strip down and like, okay, no worries. What I'm doing for some people that don't want to do that package is kind of more of a simple one. It's a little bit more affordable. Let me flip this over and I'll show you what that is. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Another thing too, so we had Hiram Huntington. A lot of you guys don't know.
Another amazing example of that.
He had like some decent volume, but wasn't anything crazy. He was selling like $1,200, $1,400, $2,000 contracts because he would just bundle.
Yeah.
And like you tell people like we're doing termite, mosquito, GPC, like let's make this happen.
Yeah.
And so like it's totally possible. It's a mindset thing. For me, that was really, really difficult because I for 6 years not been doing that.
Yeah.
And that's something I got to switch because it's totally possible. And these rookies are showing us this. So
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Like some of us, this is going to be difficult that are older dogs that are just used to like the bare bones. Like I'm just trying to sell a lot of volume and try to get 5-6 sales a day, right? It's actually more unforgiving. Like if you do it that way, Hiram's way, where Hiram was selling like 2-3 a day, but he was selling $1,200 contracts, and so he was competing with like all the rookies in the company. And so if you can go marry those two together and sell volume and high contract value, that's how we're going to go raise our ceiling and what's possible here. So anyway, any other thoughts on just this idea of bundling or contract value this year? Okay. Early and late sales. I actually didn't add weather on here. I appreciate that idea, Noah, that you shared of just like knocking in bad weather, but late and early sales. Like I listened to some podcast episodes of some of the top reps in the industry, and they're just selling later than us. And so we need to do a better job of closing sales from 8 to 10 p.m. Like finding a way to do it. And we're not asking at all for you to be reckless and just be like cold knocking from 8 to 10. That is idiotic and we'll get the cops called. Like We don't want that, but it's like lights on, people out front, people in their garage with the lights on.
Callbacks.
Callbacks, yeah, like appointments, right? So smart. Saving your callbacks from, you know, instead of like that tempting, like I'm at 0 or I'm at 1, I gotta go get a deal and get a dopamine hit, like wait and put the callback till 8 and then go create you know, value from 6 to 8, get some new accounts, and then that callback's not going anywhere, right? They're gonna be home, they're home at 7, they're gonna be home at 8. In fact, I have kids, 8's a way better time than 7. And that's what's actually been crazy for me on the parent side of things, and like the homeowner, I'm like in my 30s now, where we have kids. 8 is like, dude, we're chilling, doing nothing. My kids are asleep. 7 is like, my house is a circus. And so, knowing that like even 8, 8:30, like set those callbacks for them is way better for homeowners all day long. So look at it through that lens. Like it's not late. It's just not. No one's going to bed at 8:30, you know? So, and then quality of accounts. So we, you know, February back ends are about to hit. It's crazy. Every February I look and I'm like, some people's checks are so insane and so good. And then some are so bad because of this variable. So quality, right? Demographics we're knocking in, setting the right expectations, all this stuff matters, right? And so lead from the front on all this stuff and your people will follow you. Any other thoughts on this? Just on any of these kind of variables that we're going to be hammering on this year in terms of leading from the front? There's another slide on this, and this would be kind of a little bit of a deeper discussion on it. But in my opinion, here's kind of 5 ideas that are like the impact of what leading from the front does. Okay, so it's like why lead from the front? Obviously, income. Most of your income is still mostly tied to your direct sales. Like that's you get paid the most when you're closest to wherever the revenue is being exchanged, right? So if you're selling accounts, like it's just the best income generator, period. That's why you see a lot of people in our industry knock as long as they can. I did like 8 summers for this reason, right? Like personal production is a big revenue driver. But yeah, again, this idea of your success sets the ceiling of possibility. I'd love to hear just like a thought or two on that. Like, maybe your experience in seeing that, or just like what your knee jerk is to that idea going into this year. Alexis and then Mason.
So I've been doing a lot of research, looking at other female reps outside of the companies and seeing how much they sell. And I've met women that sold over 350K. And I met this rookie female rep that sold over 300K. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know if that was possible for me.
Yeah.
So seeing that example of other people outside the company lets me know I can hit more than 300K no matter what.
Love it.
So like there's no limit except for what I set myself.
Yeah, which again is like you're in that situation, you're playing the role of like, I didn't know that ceiling, you know, could actually go a lot higher than that. And so therefore I have evidence and proof that like I can go do that.
Yeah.
And so that shows you as a leader, like it's a stewardship thing. It's like literally a responsibility thing to go and set that bar at a new standard. Because in some ways, like you're crippling our program by not doing it, you know, and the people that you have stewardship over, like an actual stewardship. Let's go Mason and then Jacob.
Yeah, my thought here, it reminds me a lot of Carter. Every time I hit a milestone for me, it was because Carter hit it first.
Yeah.
So Carter went out and like sold a 10-day, and I was like, okay, if he can do that, I can do that. Carter was selling like a couple accounts every day, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I went, okay, if he can do that, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that I had a leader that was pushing himself so that I could follow, right? He was blazing the trail for me to go.
Yeah.
Behind.
I love that. Yeah, it gives you permission almost, right?
Yeah.
And we all want to think like, I don't need to go see it to be able to then go and do it. But the honest truth is you don't need to, because you've been here. Like, and you have some different frameworks and belief systems than your rookies do. But your rookies, man, they're like fragile and young, and they haven't seen it done. And this is new to them. And so anytime something's new to someone, there's that curiosity always of like, can someone run a 4 minute mile? I don't think so. Like, I don't think that's possible. And then what happened? That one guy runs a 4 minute mile. And then the next year, like half the world's running a 4 minute mile, right? And so I see that here. I see it with our program. We need some people to go do that and raise our standards. And it's so important. And it's not just like that'd be nice. It's a must thing. Like, we legitimately have to do it to stay relevant. We're at 200 reps this year. We're growing. It's amazing. And I love our culture. And I think that's why you guys all work here. But for us to go compete and to be relevant, this is a must. Like, it is a necessary thing that we have to go do to continue to grow and flourish, and for you guys to continue to have success in our program. Jake.
Yeah, when shopping around for other companies before I decided to stay with the best.
That's right.
Something that I really like that Vantage talked a lot about is the law of lids, which
Yeah.
is you just can't go higher than your leaders. It happens, but
Yeah.
it's very rare.
Yeah.
And so like Tyler Wyman created a team. He sold 650K to the Golden Door.
Yeah.
And then this last year, he produced 4 Golden Door winners. One is Caleb Bischoff, which that guy is amazing. I picked his mind for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But he sold $1 million in rev and 80% retention. And it's like talking to him, even like just talking to him, I realized like, wow, the difference that we can have is insane.
Yeah.
And if we can just show our guys what we can do,
Yep.
then they can follow the footsteps.
Yep. 100%. I love that. Yeah.
I think too, on the flip side of that, like, it's very easy if you don't show up for the complacency to set in within reps. And what I mean by that is, like, my first summer in DC, we had some leaders, managers that were like bageling or maybe selling one a day. And so like the whole team, like all the rookies were like, yeah, okay, this is kind of like the expectation. Like, if I get one, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Versus like, last year we had like myself selling like 5-6 a day. And so we had a bunch of other reps that were also duplicating that. And it's just like what the leader's doing, what you as leaders doing, people are gonna follow, and vice versa. It's a double-edged sword. If you're not producing, they're gonna say, okay, it's okay. He's not producing, so I'm not producing.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love where we're headed with this conversation. I think it's the right combo, and hopefully what it does is it, as humans, like it's very tempting to kind of pump the brakes when we start to feel like we're redlining it a little bit, right? And I've been there. Like, you got a team and you got some overrides now, and it feels a little bit like, wow, this is like, I'm on pace as a 20-something-year-old to make 6 figures this summer. That's good enough. Like, I'm gonna go get on the phone and I'm gonna call my mom, or I'm gonna go get on social media and scroll for a while. But again, I just like the main message here is you have a stewardship to be the 4-minute mile pace setter. And so there is no number, there is no quota here where it's like, I got my 4, I got my number. That mindset is, I don't believe it's from God. Like, I don't believe it's I believe the right voice is abundance. And what can I go do with this opportunity and this blessing that I have in my life? And like, what is my 4-minute mile? And so, and not every person in this room is going to go sell a Golden Door, or, 500K in revenue this year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's go find what your 4-minute mile is this year, and set a new ceiling for our people. I just wanted to shift gears to this last. Obviously, you're going to produce higher producing reps. That one's inevitable, right? That's what we're talking about. But another thought I just love is that value gap component, right? Like, it's really hard to recruit when people that are following you don't feel like, man, like this person, this guy or this girl helps me become a better version of myself. And not just by like nature of who they are, but like literally by the numbers. Like, success leaves clues. And so if you want to recruit better next year, sell better this year. That's a super important piece. And if you want to have a story and a brand and make it easier on yourself in recruiting meetings, then go get results. And so anyway, I've hit it hard enough probably, but I think just some buy-in on that this year is super important. So any last thoughts on this before we pivot and move forward just on, Cam?
I was just hitting on the point that, the reps will want to follow you. The 3 words that come to mind are like positivity, energy, and I forgot the last one.
Something like that. I had it in my mind, but yeah. Anyway, around that realm, like I would always try and be the first one out the door, and like I would like scream in our office, like, "All right, boys, I'm heading out. Like, good luck. I'm running." And
Yeah.
like I would notice a lot of urgency. Guys would like be grabbing their water bottles. They're like, "Cam's going. We gotta go
Yeah.
too." And so, also in the car groups, like as you're heading out to area, if you're low energy, if you're low like smile and low confidence, like your reps will also be. And so yeah, I like to just be in the car group, exciting people and telling them not to worry about the day before, and just like move forward and have the positive mindset going into today.
Yeah,
And I feel like that will bring a lot of energy to your office when you're like, when you're the first one out the door and you're setting the expectation that you're gonna go sell the first account. Like it brings a lot of energy to your office.
100%. Steve and Sam, how many days last summer do you think Cam was the first sale on the day?
Most days.
Yeah, let's say 9 out of 10 times.
I had a joke last year, like I would send it in chats, like I'll bet you $100, Cam. Out of 30 it was a pretty big team, 27 people in Arkansas. Like 9 out of 10 days, Cam was the first deal of the day. So like what he just said was real. And so then what that creates is like everyone else, there's this subconscious buy-in of like, dude, deals happen at noon, like most days. Like why am I taking a long lunch break, or why am I like stopping at the gas station for 45 minutes on the way out? Because like Cam's getting paid $300 before I hit a door every day. Like, and so when you do that, but what if that was the thing with knocking late too, and with contract value, and with like, if you can go take that variable and then times it by 5, 6, 7, and not every single person on your team is going to go do it, but you'll get 20, 30, 40% to do. And that the ROI on that and the impact on that is insane. So anyway, execution leads to opportunities. Love that idea. If you want greater opportunities in life, execute where you're at. You know, like one of my favorite church talks ever is Elder Uchtdorf talking about lift where you stand. Like lift where you stand, and if you do, opportunities will come. And so if you have an opportunity this year, execute. Execution will lead to opportunities. So okay, so now let's talk about here's these topics. I'm just gonna hit them all real quick. Sorry. So I'm gonna cover emotional leadership. We're gonna talk about this, and then we're gonna take a break here in probably 20, 30 minutes. You guys cool with that? And then today, basically, we're just covering these highlighted ones. Some of them are quicker than others. So we're gonna be done today by 11, I promise you. And then we're gonna go to go eat and celebrate and enjoy lunch. So emotional leadership, following the schedule, setting expectations. That's what we're covering today. So in summer, those are our topics today that we're gonna be going through and talking about so that we can best lead ourselves and other people. All right. So emotional leadership, just this thought, like tell me what your thoughts are in regards to this thought. You set the tone for the team. Like, what does that mean to you? What have you seen in years past with this on this topic? Chad.
I feel like Hiram, the manager, was really good at doing was taking a lot of our concerns and somehow taking up the positive or
Yeah.
changing our perspective on it to make it a strength. And that I think was one of his gifts, and something that I hope I can be half as good at doing, because say it was raining or you're knocking late and you're like, hey, it's getting on. Oh, you got this. No one, like, there's not a lot of reps that actually knock at that.
Love
So
that.
no one's gonna go door. You can go sell. So you can win out. And so I think that's what emotional leadership is.
Yeah.
Is positivity.
Yeah, love that.
It's in our nature to mirror people. So like you'll get car groups where it's raining, the whole car group decides, let's go to already
Yeah.
for 2 hours
Yeah.
instead of knocking in the rain.
Yeah.
And so people will mirror what's happening. So as a
Yeah.
leader, if you're, like Canada this summer out there selling big days every day, first selling day, just like Cam, it's
Yeah.
like people are gonna try to do that and be like you.
Yeah.
So are you gonna be the rainy day Arby's guys? Or
Yeah.
you gonna be the
Yeah.
hard workers?
You do set the tone, right? Like both those examples, it's like you're the tone setter, like 100%, right? I'm always, and I mean this on the doors, but also off the doors at correlation meeting, like in just conversations that you're having, like I'll say like the hardest part of this job is that you're a human and that you have hard days too, right? But it's super important that you have a little bit of a reset before your reps interact with you in the morning. So at meeting, you know, when I was leading team, I tried my very, very hardest to take a deep breath before going into meeting and being really positive. And that's really hard when on the way to the office, you just got a text message from the office that Bobby Sue, your sale last night that you worked till 10 p.m. to get canceled. Or, you know, or your wife's pregnant and mad at you, or
Gundy
or-
went to jail.
or yeah, one of your reps got a ticket and they think he's like a criminal and should go to, it's like, that's when that's like what's happening right before, like taking a deep breath and walking into meeting, you set the tone though, right? And so like, if you walk in and it's like, today's not a good day, dude, you might as well just send your reps home. Like, they're not gonna do well that day. People are not gonna come into an environment in correlation meeting or on the way out to area. And if their leaders aren't positive and they don't have a sense of belief, it is over. Like, it is literally over. It's not gonna be a good day. Carter.
I think this past summer, Tanner was a really good example of emotional leadership. I mean, he was out most of the summer without his wife.
Yeah,
And that's a
hard.
heavy, like, emotional pull.
Yeah.
But like, as I was in the same department as him, like, I saw how he handled that. It's like, instead of just getting really frustrated that he doesn't have his wife with him and all the other problems that occurred from the summer, he kept putting his head down and working extremely hard. Like, he used it as a strength instead of a weakness to power him through and really produce more than anyone else could.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I saw like when I would drop in, Tanner was super disciplined in terms of like his mornings, his study, his what he was like. He had like he mapped out like what he would eat and when and all this stuff. Like, it was you're you know, in a lot of ways, like, you guys are like a machine and you gotta like treat it properly so that then you can go show up with that right tone every day. So man, this is such an important piece. It's just like the attitude and mentality that you show up with, and even if you're faking it till you make it a little bit, even if some days you are pissed because an account canceled or something happened, for that 1 hour or that 2 hours you're interacting with your team, you've got to show up with that right, I believe in the mission mentality. That's so important every single day.
Yeah, I think so I'm not someone that has a huge social battery, like social bank. I get worn out from talking to random people all day.
Yeah.
Like, I love my customers, but at the same time, like, I'm never gonna see them again. Like,
Yeah.
it's exhausting. And then you add on like the emotional parts of the team on top of that, and that as a leader, that will drain you.
Yeah.
And like, you don't see that oftentimes from your leaders if you are like doing this for your second year, third year, whatever. But a huge thing that helps is routine, doing the exact same thing every single day and knowing exactly what's going to come next, because those emotional things, those are new. But if everything else throughout the rest of your day is exactly the same for the whole summer, it helps make that easier.
Yeah.
The second piece too is like, a lot of people didn't see, I'm very like the same emotionally, but a lot of people didn't see, I called Parker and Parker heard me pissed a lot, but like no one else really sees that. And like, that's another point of like vent up to the leaders that you
100%.
do have, because they can take some of that emotional, you know, frustrations that you have so that it doesn't come across to your team.
That's a really good point, and that's one of the best practices we're gonna be sharing here in a minute. But like, we're not asking you to just suppress it and just like bottle it up. That is not healthy. Like, you guys all have regional managers, or if you're a regional, you have myself. And honestly, any of you guys can lean on me as well. I want that. Like, that's our job. Like, it's our job, and we're gonna do it the very best that we can to be there for you and just like be a soundboard, you know. So you'll have someone that, but the wrong group to go not set the right tone with is the people that are following you. It's a nightmare situation. So opposition is normal to be expected in the summer. Like, it's just gonna happen. I think every summer there's this. I actually loved Carter's presentation he did like 1 or 2 leadership trainings ago, where he talked about how there's this build up for the summer emotionally. We're excited. I'm gonna go make 6 figures. I'm gonna buy a rental property. I'm gonna go travel the world. Like, I'm skilled now, so this job's gonna feel easier when I show up. Like, it's just gonna be like 1 + 2 = 3. And then you show up and what happens? It's like, man, this is a lot harder than I remember. It's like, what'd you call it? The valley of despair. It's like, like my first,
What it's
you know,
called.
yeah, first neighborhood of the summer. Karen HOA ladies yelling at me, my reps are bageling, it's hot somehow and it's April and I'm like, why is it 100 degrees?
Or 20 degrees.
Yeah, my car broke down and I'm like, okay, well, you know, should I change my goal or should I get back on the horse or like, what should I do? So, I mean, the answer is like, just know that's the price tag, right? At that mindset training that we did a couple of months ago, it was like, what do I want? What's that gonna cost, right? And that question right there is huge. And what that's gonna cost is, like, fall in love with the hard stuff, like, and just understand that it is the price tag, right? I was gonna say like embrace the suck, but it's like, that's no way to live, you know, like. It's not, it doesn't suck, like, it just embrace hard things, any beautiful thing in life, like, it's just hard, and so like, fall in love with it, you know? I know that sounds weird, but like, I think that's the right mentality. I don't want this mentality or culture where it's like, this job sucks, so we're just gonna like muscle through it, like, let's find joy in it and find beauty in it and find opportunity in it and just build the muscle to be bigger so that we can withstand it. But knowing that resistance is going to come, it will come day one. It will not wait. Like, it will not wait. It will show up in your first hour when you show up, and it will be in one of, I don't know, 20, it could be any of the things that we've mentioned, probably something that we haven't mentioned, you know? Yeah.
I think a common misconception with this job and with like summer sales is people think the reward is gonna happen like October 25th or at the banquet when you're like recognized as like top whatever.
Yeah.
And it's actually like way more rewarding from my experience when I get the sale at 9:30 and I've been battling all day. Like that feeling is way more of a dopamine high and like proudness of your own work than being recognized in any like, I don't know, I think I had that misconception too.
Love that.
Like I did well my first summer and I was like, sweet, it's gonna be awesome receiving a sweet check or, you know, getting an award. And like it passed and I was like, wow, that wasn't what I expected. So
Yeah.
if you're expecting that the recognition, the pay is going to be worth like, you know, better than you fighting on the hard days and on the rainy days, cold days, like it won't be.
So I guess question for you, so because I view you as someone that definitely way better than the average person in terms of like emotional leadership, like is what you're saying, you're allowing yourself when you feel, when you see wins, like allow yourself to feel those and experience those.
Yeah, 100%. And I know a lot of people, you know, maybe they're like, dude, you're so stupid, that's not right. But for me, at least, I am definitely more proud of my reps when they sell one late at night, they've been battling, or even if they bagel and I ask them in the car, like, did you work your hardest? Like, bro, I freaking grinded. I didn't stop. That's like more rewarding, and more of an experience together than the
Yeah, I think the takeaway for me on that comment is just like, there's all this negative, like I view it as like negatives just being piled on top of you with dirt all day long. But like the positive things, like when you go see something positive, it's like scoop, like I'm gonna like go offset that negativity with like allowing myself to feel joy. And it's not like I'm gonna go get satisfied and stop working, but it's like I'm gonna allow myself to feel that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I like that thought.
And gratitude also, like zooming out perspective
100%.
is something I do every day. When
Yeah.
reps show up frustrated from the day before, I'm like, bro, you are so blessed to be here. Like, let's just zoom out.
Yeah.
And usually like we'll put people in a situation like, why did I even complain?
Perspective's everything.
Yeah.
Man. Perspective's literally everything. I just love this thought of like, it's how you respond that will make or break your team, right? So the sucky things are gonna come, the uncontrollable things will come, but it's how you respond that will make or break. So choose now how you're gonna respond, right? And I think there's ways that you can kind of like simulate this in your mind where it's like, hey, I'm there, I'm in summer, like I know what my goals are, but what is that price tag gonna be? And how am I gonna respond in those moments? And actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have Carter actually walk through kind of best practices with do's and don'ts. But I think in a minute here, we can kind of simulate it. Like I have like 6 or 7 or 8 ideas of like things that can happen in the summer, and I just wanna have a cool discussion on like, what do you do and when that happens, right? So, I've asked Carter to come up and just walk through the do's and the don'ts of emotional leadership that will help you this summer leading your teams. So let's give Carter a hand.
Cool. I hope you have your phones out because this is one of my favorite slides from leadership meetings that we have. So the first is do keep your commitments. I should have just left all these off. Let's go back.
Got my phone out,
I'm
man.
too used to sales trainings when we have to keep flipping through the sales cycle. Cool. What are some commitments that we need to keep to our reps? What do those look like in summer or preseason right now? Trainings, yep. Yep, 100%. Do you have something else?
Yeah, I guess trainings and being available for them to help out.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably pretty obvious, but maybe explain why. Like, why are we
I
making
mean, like, if
ourselves?
you're setting the tone now that you're gonna be available, like even when you're going through like school and whatever you got going on, they're gonna have way higher trust in you going out into the summer, like, oh, he's willing to sacrifice for me, he really wants me to perform well.
Yeah,
Like, and then that comes back to you, like, I trust this guy, I have confidence in him.
yeah, I agree with that. Nice.
Yeah, something that Carter says actually in all of our interviews when we are hiring someone is he goes, we're committed to helping you level up. So that could be like through trainings. But I think a big thing that Carter does is he like casts a vision for them. So like he'll talk about goals, he'll help them break it down. There's a spreadsheet that he's got that he'll like send out to reps. And just like actually helping them get that mentality of leveling up, which is something that he promised to do, I think goes a long way in helping them have a successful summer.
Thanks, Mason. I appreciate that. What does that look like in summer too? So we touched on like pre-summer, what that looks like. What does it look like in summer?
I mean, you got your office expectations and holding people accountable to that. And a hard one for leaders is like if you're late, you flip the coin. It's
Yeah.
the common thing. And like actually telling people they have to do it. And when they complain about doing it, like holding your ground.
Yep,
Because once you like say, oh, you don't have to flip today, like
yeah,
it's just a free for all. No one ends up
no one's on
flipping, and then
time.
no one follows the expectations.
Yep, yep, and even more important too with that is like, if you're late, you should be flipping. And it sounds dumb, but like in the first few weeks, I might try to be late once just to show people I'm not above the rules, right? So I'll do
that.
that.
Like talk about setting the tone.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, yeah, we actually do what we say we're gonna do here.
Yeah.
Welcome to point, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Welcome to boot camp.
Welcome
Yeah.
We have integrity.
Yeah, yeah, any other thoughts? Okay. I think with commitments, like this is really the foundation for all of the other dues. If you're not following through on your commitments, then people won't have respect for you and pretty much nothing else matters. Okay, be relatable and unshakingly positive. What's the balance there? Because we don't want to totally validate people when they're like really in the valley of despair, so to speak. But like, what's the balance between being relatable but also unshakingly positive?
The reason I have a comment with this is because there's been times when I've also, been in the despair moments when you're like, everyone's looking to you as the leader and you barely sold one at 9:45. And it's like, I think one thing to tell people is, I know it's hard, I'm doing this too, but guess what? Today I'm doing X. And like being super confident and telling them what your goals are lets them know, hey, this dude's also like, he's grinding, like he's not sitting in his high horse, but also letting them know, like, you still have the expectation for yourself to go make your dreams possible and make it happen still. So
I
that's
love
a huge
that.
one.
Yeah, I love that.
I know one day I knocked 217 doors, got one sale, and I'll give Carter and Haas, they both sold 4 or 5 each that day. I get in the car, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I grinded so hard for that. And both Haas and Carter are both like, you know what, like, tell me your KPIs, what you do, and we kind of like analyze it, like, sometimes it just happens, that sucks. But we're gonna work with you, make sure that doesn't happen again, we'll find like ET, I think Carter offered me ET personally with me the next day and it worked, and I did better the next day. but like, he didn't discount the fact that I didn't get a lot of sales, but he got to help me know what I'm supposed to do next. So I like that, he was very positive with that.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Okay, what else?
I think just interacting with your reps outside of just a leadership role.
Yeah.
I think I relate more to the people that actually are like friends with me than just people that are in charge of me. And once you're friends with someone, then you can obviously, be positive and help them not be negative.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's important because like we are coming from like a leadership perspective, so we want to make sure that we're not like totally engaging with whatever their concern is or whatever their struggle is, but I do think like we will actually go into that, spending time off the doors with the reps is important. Okay, pay attention to the attitudes of your people and organize car groups accordingly. We are super strategic with car groups, or at least you should be. If you're not strategic, this is the year to be strategic. But why would that be important? Why do we organize car groups?
So that was something I learned my first year. At first, I thought it was just like, state government and all that. And then I realized how Kyron, he was my first manager, that he would put us in different areas. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are you doing this? And then I realized the people he would put me with are like hardworking and want to grind and like get out there. And like, we get pumped in the car. Like, we're going to sell like 5 today. We're going to 5 each. And like, we're going to be, the top car group of the day. And like just having that positive energy going around the car, and especially when some people have it harder, you have to hire people to lower people, so you balance that out and get them up there.
Yeah, that term like misery loves company is really true in like car groups where it's poison. Like people just feed off of each other for good and for bad. Like you can have a really positive car group that can go kill it, and there's like no doubt in your mind, okay, like if I put Cam and Steven and all these other guys in our car group, they're probably all gonna go sell 4, 5, or 6 in that day. But yeah, like we gotta be really strategic. Were you in the same car group every day during that first summer, or was it changing?
Sometimes it change halfway through the week.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, okay, sure, let's go with this. And
Why would that be effective, do you think, to switch it up like that?
Just talking to the other guys that were like also doing really well helped me a lot my first year. And like, and then if I had questions or anything, I would just talk to them all right there. I would train with them. It just helped me a ton when I was first time.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, anything else? Any other thoughts on car groups?
I just have a thought, like, you're gonna, the default is going to be to let people do what they want, right? So like, people are gonna have a couple of homies on the team that they just wanna be going with, if they're more comfortable with that, right? But sometimes when a couple of those friends that are close, they start struggling, and they just kind of like this, it turns into this like vent fest where they're just like, we're miserable, we're struggling, and then they're just kind of like slowly dying together. And so it's gonna be some trial and error. Like sometimes the answer is double down, like this car group's killing it together, they've got amazing energy, they're working their guts out, like double down on it and let them keep rocking together. But sometimes then you're gonna go see this other car group that's just getting smoked and they're being negative, and you're finding out they're not working their hours, their KPIs are bad. So then you sprinkle in some real positive people into their car group. But so there's not like a totally right answer, but it's just using your best judgment and making sure that energy is being spread out, and that a lot of negative people aren't like kind of like flocking together.
Yeah.
And first of all, you shouldn't have a lot of negative people on your team in general, but you might have a couple that just naturally, they just get a little bit more negative than some of the others. And so you just got to be intentional about listening to that and then organizing your car groups accordingly.
Yeah, great thought, Mason.
I guess this is more of a question for like, you guys have done it for a while. But in my opinion, like negativity is a virus and it spreads. So how do you guys help like these negative like groups of people without like bringing the positive people down? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it has to be strategic. Like I'll comment on that, but I want to hear you too. But like, for example, last year, there were a couple people in a car group that I knew that you could go with, and that I knew that you wouldn't be poisoned by them, right? But there's other people that probably probably wouldn't have been able to like do as well in that kind of a scenario and would probably feed off the negativity more. So I think it's a moving average, right? Like Parker was saying, it's strategic, like there will be some people that you could put into a more negative car group. And then there's other people that you would never do that with.
And maybe a better thought also is like, if you have people like that that are just so bad for culture, like one question just to be straight up is like, why are they there? You know, I mean, that's a whole different topic, but like, we should be pouring into the people that, that are willing to take what we're teaching and actually apply it. I think correlations, when you hear negativity, like you gotta nip it because, if correlations in general and the vibe of the overall team is really positive, it stacks the deck in your favor and you're not gonna have quite as much negativity in car groups. So I think correlation, if you're hearing negative things in correlation, you've gotta create, and Cam's gonna talk about this later, setting expectations with the team, but it's all about expectations, right? If you don't set clear expectations of like positivity is huge for us as a team culture this year, then you can't ask for people to be positive because you haven't like laid that law down yet. But if you've laid it down, then it's like, and they keep doing it. So I think a lot of it's about managing expectations and, but in general, you gotta sprinkle your sunshine throughout the team and make sure that you're gonna have a couple people that are so positive and you gotta utilize those and they're like your best friend all summer long.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, great thought. Control the message, always build confidence in the company and what they're doing. This kind of feeds off what Parker was saying, but if there is negativity about the company, a lot of times it will come up in meeting. Or you'll hear it inside conversations during lunch or whatever it may be. You need to like make sure that that is killed right off the bat because that feeds very quickly in a team. And sooner or later, people will start to have like some idea about our service, like that we're scamming people or there's things about it that aren't totally viable. So I guess, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Like, why is this a do for us? Yeah.
So a couple of guys were struggling with this last year and like they weren't selling well and I was like trying to figure out why that was. And actually just, they didn't have like much confidence in the service itself. And so I was like, guys, like, how do you expect to sell this service if you're like pitching people and you're not confident in it yourself? So yeah, I guess with that, like, just understanding like, what are we doing? How can we like make this a more enjoyable process for you guys? Or what can I do to help out with like questions you've got about the company? I think that's like super huge. Then immediately after they figured it out and they're like, oh, we're selling good. It's like, well, yeah, because now you have confidence about the company.
Yeah, I love that.
I think there's imperfections with every service.
Yeah.
You are going to find something you're like, this should be different, or according to you, right? It's your own opinion, but I think it's okay to say, hey, look, we understand this isn't perfect, but this is what we have. These are the cards we have to play with, and so this is about it. And bringing that up with people, because if you let like rumors spread and you agree with them but don't really say anything about it, then it becomes cancerous. But if you nip it in the bud and just say, hey, this is the issue, this is what we're doing, and this is what we have control over, people respect that, and then there's nothing to gossip over.
Yeah.
And that's with Point too, like service partner or with Point marketing, like we're not perfect, we make mistakes, we're still growing and trying to perfect and optimize who we are. But it was cool, Tanner just pieced together two of those, right? It was like control the message and build confidence in the company, but also at the same time, that number two, be relatable, like I hear you, like it's like kind of empathy, right? Like I hear you and I don't blame you for having that thought, but let me now take a second to build some confidence. Like there's a couple of nuggets that are positive about Point or about the service company that you need to understand. So like let's listen to the positive voices and like starve out the negative.
Yeah. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, I talk a lot, you guys, I'm so sorry. But like expectation is everything, right? So like when you're closing a customer, you say you're never gonna see a bug again. They're gonna see bugs. And it's the same thing with like with your service company. If you're like, yep, we're perfect every single time, and they see one person that like has a bad experience and they're gonna feel awful. But if you remind them like, hey, like we're all people, we're all learning, like it's normal and natural for there to be mistakes and like for things to just have like slip ups. I think it's a lot better for the rep to just have that expectation instead of like everything is perfect all the time.
Yeah, I think to add on to all three of those comments, it's a lot easier to do this preventatively than like retroactively, right? Like it's harder to like have to repair culture. Way better to just like you said at the forefront, this is not a perfect service. Like there will be mistakes that are made. Technicians are not perfect people either, just like we aren't. But like this is the best service that people have in Oklahoma or in New Hampshire, right? So I think that's important. Any other thoughts? Okay. If you need to vent upward and not downward. We talked about this a little bit. What does upward and downward mean? What does that look like?
I'll tell you, Ricky, you're having a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah, Carter.
I think Tanner did this, a little earlier saying that he was on Parker, just explaining how mad he was. Just letting it go up instead of, we were talking about spreading to the team, because that will become, as Tanner said, cancerous, and it'll cause a lot more problems than helping you to feel well.
Yeah, communication is healthy, and that's why we have a system for it. So we're not trying to say, cut out all negative communication. We need to vent things out, but just do it in the right way.
Like you said earlier, rookies are so fragile, they're so frail, and when they.
So fragile.
Baby little cub.
I was a rookie, I remember, maybe after the first week, I was at 4 or 5 cells, and Kyron was at 25, I was like, oh my gosh, this man's a god. And I think about it now, and I'm like, if Kyron would have vented to me, and he was like, oh, I'm having such a bad day, it would have just broken me.
Yeah.
You know, I was just trying to survive out there, and I'm so glad that he was, I'm so glad that he was so positive, and he was building confidence, and he built up me and the whole team up. And that's why it's so important to vet upwards and not downwards, not sideways either, maybe talk about it, but more than anything, talk to your managers.
It's such a cool way to build loyalty in people too. Like Kyron was an amazing leader, man. Like I love and miss him a ton. He was an amazing leader in our program, and like Kyron has high EQ. Like, and that's why Kyron had a really strong network here for a long time. Like, so, man, people like that is leadership. Like when, like, oh, this bad thing happened. Like, let me show you how to act when these bad things happen. It's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it is way cool.
A thought I had about vent is like, it just refers to like complaining for me. Cause obviously you gotta talk to someone, right? But, something that I like to do is more of like a solution-based vent. So like, instead of just calling someone to complain or whatever, a lot of the time I would call, you know, they're now like the regional, but like I'd call Tanner, I'd call Carter, call Parker Elison, and I'd be like, what are our solutions? What are our problems? And like, let's just fix them. Like, I'm not here to waste your time and complain to you. And so that was the same kind of system I had with my reps. If they're like, this is hard or hot hood or whatever, it's like, what are our solutions? Like, complaining is not going to solve anything. What are you going to do today to fix this complaint that you have? And a lot of the time they'd be like, well, I have nothing in my control that I can do other than work. And I'm like, sweet, your only option is to go out and work then. Like, you need to get off the curb. And so a lot of the time they would solve their own problem, and I'd just be there to help them fix their problem or give them options. If you are the one receiving calls and it's just like, Cam, this is hard, and you're like, I feel you, man, it's hard. That didn't solve anything. Like, they just walk away still feeling like this is hard. So I would take, if you're a new manager, you're going to receive those calls. I would try and come up with a system before the summer so that when you receive the call, you can help your rep rather than just listen to them. Because in the end, like, being a good listener will build, like Parker and Carter and Tanner said, it'll build an awesome relationship, and you will have a better and stronger connection, but that rep won't be helped. And so that's my thought number 5. Be prepared to help people when they call you, not just listen to them.
Yeah, I agree. while you were talking, the way I've always pictured it in my head is that we have empathy tailored response flows for our customers, and it's very true for our reps too. So when someone calls you, you have an empathy line, you have a tailored response, and your close isn't pushing a sale forward. It's like, hey, what's the solution? Where do we go from here? It's the, what is it? Feel, felt, found principle in sales. Like, I totally feel where you're coming from. I actually felt the same way in my first year, but what I found was the solution, right? Cool. Spend quality time off the doors with your people. Tanner touched on this a little bit. Might feel a little bit self-explanatory too, but why would we not just go MIA on Sundays?
Something Tanner Tucker does really well is like, he kind of just makes the environment fun, and he'll compete with you, and if it's Sunday, we're going to play pickleball, and you're totally gonna lose, or whatever it may be. But like, it makes the summer a lot more enjoyable than like being locked in like your house on Sunday, because you have to like rest or recover for the week.
Yeah.
That's a way better way to recover for the week, and enjoy and build confidence with the team.
Yeah, I love that actually. You guys were posting on your Slack channel all the time, like, hey, we're going to this Red Sox game. Like, you guys have an awesome like team culture. So that was great. Yeah, any other thoughts? Okay, breathe belief into the office. What does that look like during summer? Mason, you're giving me the eyes. I know you want to talk again.
No, I was just trying to make a face so you smile. I think, yeah, I think people, like, we're just talking about leadership, right? Like, no one's gonna follow a leader that's like not helping them feel good or not going a place that they want to go. So breathing belief in your office is like, I think just having energy, like just having like a good positive energy, like, hey, like we can go out and do this, and like this is gonna be a huge blessing for everyone involved. So let's go out and do it. Like, it doesn't have to be a crazy thing. It's just believing in yourself and the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. This last year, it was a goal of mine that I wanted to be in the first person in the office every day, and then the first person to leave the office every day too. So breathing belief into the office, that is important, but it's important to like, it's also important to forge faith on the doors too. Like, you can't just be rah, rah, rah. Let's go out and kill it today. It's gonna be a great day, and then put up one sale a day all summer long.
Okay.
Right? That's not gonna
I will
work.
cut you a break today. I know what that's like. This road got a few more intersections like that coming up, so just kind of take these nice spots coming up.
I just told my guys I'm done being on the call, so they're just gonna have to catch me up later.
Well, the sad part is like this section of road is a county road, not a state highway, so it gets touched by snow plows last.
Yeah.
So that's why those spots end up getting packed ice like that. So they do sneak up on you when you come up over those humps.
There's a couple more though coming up.
There is a stop sign a mile and a half down the road,
Okay.
and then a few more ahead of that. So you're gonna run into the
I
same.
appreciate it.
So
Thank
just-
you so much.
First
Drive
one you get in the
officer.
office, last
Have
one
a
you
good
get in the
day.
office. It's first one you get on the door, it's the last one you leave.
Yes.
Like that,
Yeah.
that's our thing. It's not, the office is not where you perform, it's not where you make money, it's on the doors.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality you should have.
Yeah, last year during training, so like starting January, I told every single one of our reps that we were gonna be the top office in the company, like no matter what. And then we show up for our first meeting and we like reaffirmed that, like we wrote it down on the board. We wrote down like 2 million minimum, like that's what we're doing, like total revenue.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help us get there. And like every single time we set like our weekly goals, it was like, how are we getting closer to this? Like, what do we need to do every single week? So like
Super cool.
having those expectations before the summer with your reps now, and then every single day, the entire summer is going to breathe whatever belief you want, right? For us, it was, we're gonna be the top office, this is how we do it. It could be, we're gonna have, 5 out of the top 10 rookies on this team, like this is how we do it, whatever, But do that as a leader with your reps.
Yeah, dude, I love that actually. That's part of controlling the message too. Yeah, way cool. Any last thoughts? Okay, now we'll get on to the don'ts. Don't bend downward. We touched on this a little bit already, but if your reps lose confidence in you, like this is how they do it. Like if you're venting downward and telling them about your day or like why your life sucks, because that morning something happened, you had 5 accounts and 3 of them canceled or whatever, your reps will lose respect for you and they most likely won't perform that day either. So any other thoughts on this? We kind of touched on it a little bit. Don't be a hypocrite. How would we be a hypocrite in summer? What are some examples?
Like we talked about how someone mentioned like we're doing a we're gonna work all day, and
Yeah.
if you don't show up, you don't actually go to the doors and knock.
Yeah.
Then like your team's not gonna do the work that you said them to do, because you're not doing the work yourself. That's being the boss and looking them down and expecting them to do all of it.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey guys, we need to raise our contract value, and you go on pest routes and it's like 540 contract
Yeah.
value. We gotta get that up to 700, guys. We gotta get it up.
Well, I like just like that, like no working hours. Like you can't tell people like go out and after 9 p.m. and then you're gonna come at 8. I guess
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
Yep. Do you have a thought, Tanner?
Uh,
I thought I saw your hand.
no,
raised.
but
Okay.
you know,
I always have a
I
thought.
called
I
on
always
you now.
forget.
You have the floor. Go ahead.
if you're setting expectations, just do it. Like that's integrity. I don't know. You want to be known as the guy that keeps his word, the guy that no one can respect.
Right.
And I'd rather be the guy that people can respect and keeps his word.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a whole list of summer expectations that you should live by, whether that you write it on the whiteboard or you have it in your phone. Like you should be reviewing that with your reps, and you should be committed to that just as much as them. Separate into cliques. Don't separate into cliques. Why would that be unhealthy for a team? I want to hear Diggy. You're giving me the eye.
I'll do it. Well, I think, like, when you say clicks, I think that gets dangerous. Like, I feel like that's just a slippery slope of, it's gonna keep separating. And soon enough, the iceberg's gonna be so far away that it's like, we have 2 teams. Like there's gonna be 2 different cultures that are brewing. And I think that at that point, you're gonna have people that are not feeling their goals, and you're gonna have some that are, and it's just gonna be so far that way that it'll be really hard to kind of bring them back.
Yeah, it becomes like us rooting against them,
Yeah,
like us
exactly.
versus them mentality. Yeah.
Can I say something on this? Like, you're gonna have people that you recruit and work with on the team that are far different than you. And, way different interests. I mean, over the years, like the amount of, people like Jason Eister comes to my mind, like, I had a rep one year that was like super interested in coins. He's like a collector of coins, and he found a customer on the doors that like was selling a bunch of gold coins. And I gave him some money to go buy these coins because he was like so sure and was telling me that I would get an amazing return on it. And I did. It was actually really cool. But like, you just like be willing to be curious and learn about their thing, you know? Like I don't know, in high school, that's like one of the biggest regrets I have of like my high school journey is I was a total like this is my crew, and like if you don't play basketball or golf or you know, then I don't like if you aren't interested in my thing, then like I'm not interested in you. And what a lame way to live life. Like, and so like as a leader this summer, you have a chance to connect with all different types of people. And I think that's lead from the front on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a small way that we did this in Oklahoma was we had a game every single morning that would involve everybody. It was non-negotiable. Everyone had to play. There were some people that wanted to sit out, and what was that?
So it's very violent.
It got pretty bad sometimes, but that was a really small thing that we did as a team that united everybody. So what are some other examples that you guys,
Well, I think we go back to the car group thing, this is how you need to be strategic as well. You need to make sure that you're not with the car group trading splits. You need to make sure you're switching it around.
Yeah.
Look to play back into that one.
Yeah, that also means spreading your own influence. There's gonna be times when you'll be like, man, like Mason, for example, I'm a big Star Wars guy. I'm like, man, I want to talk about Star Wars for the next hour with Mason on the car ride, because I know I have an hour car ride out the area. Like I want to talk about this latest thing, right? But but it's also, it's important for you to spread your influence among the team, like even though you may not vibe, like Parker was saying, with someone as much, like it's important to spread your influence in car groups. Yep.
This is actually something I took from Carter, but I just try to do one activity with the whole team at least a month on a Saturday, Sunday, where like we just did waffle party, and I invite people over, make waffles, we play some games, force everyone to play some games at least, and then like they can do whatever they wanted the rest of the Sunday. But like trying to do something with the whole team and have everyone interact instead of break off into their groups,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. And I don't try to make it mandatory, but it's almost mandatory. Like, and I think it's a good thing to do that every once in a while. And that goes back to like just doing it off the doors.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think anything that you do, you should put it on Slack, like invite everybody to do it. Yeah, I love that. Cool. And then lastly, give or appear to give yourself special treatment. So there's two sides of that coin. Obviously, you shouldn't give yourself special treatment, but what would it look like to give, like to appear to give yourself special treatment? What does that look like?
I mean, this is something that we've talked about, but a lot of people assume that because you're doing well, you give yourself like the best area, right? So like for some reason, managers have like a sixth sense of like, this is like the one area that no one has pest control and everyone has bugs. Therefore, it is my area, and you guys get the sucky ones. So I think just being really cautious about giving yourself like different kinds of area, like not doing things in a way that people can say his success is because of blank. Like my success is because I work hard, or your success.
Got an appointment at 11:30.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
I actually got sleep last night. The night before I did it. Hey,
So,
He's good.
all right, so, there was one more slide on that last section. I just want to reference, like, here's some examples of, you know, some of these things we're talking about, like technicians will mess up jobs. That happens. It's inevitable. They'll be late for their window. Bad weather, permits, competition, cops. We make a mistake, like Point does on payroll or something, or on some incentive that someone got frustrated about. Housing can sometimes be a challenge. So Anyway, those principles, those do's and don'ts that Carter just taught, just, they all apply here, right? Be relatable, but positive, breathe belief. The company is a good company. It's gonna be fine. So lead with a little bit of empathy, find solutions. I really loved Cameron's thought on just like, let's actually teach our people to be solution focused, you know, like that's a huge thing. Like teach people to be solution focused. And then what will happen is they actually will feel like they need to hit you up less often because they're going to go in their head, figure out how to go find solutions to problems, right? So that's a really important skill you can kind of help develop in your people. But we're going to transition into follow the schedule. Hopefully we can get through all three of these, but we'll see. So we're just going to lay out like 2025. This is the schedule that we work, right? So on Mondays, you're gonna have leaders on your team. And so these will be like the managers and the team leads. So this is managers and team leads getting together and talking about the week, talking about your reps, talking about what correlations would be good for training. And so you're gonna have maybe 3 to 5 people. I recommend doing this at the office. So meeting at the office on Monday mornings with your leadership group and discussing all of the above, to have an awesome week that week. And so if you have some reps struggling or some reps where you feel like they're doing 1s and 2s, but they should be doing 3s, 4s, and 5s, like where are the inches? How do we help those people? What are the correlations we can do to train them up? So on and so forth. And then the senior manager, your job, you know, every team's gonna have like kind of a senior manager for the most part. Your job is going to be to delegate and find and you know, divide tasks out, right? So just to keep things organized. So that's like, actually, I guess on Monday at 10, you're gonna do more like a plan correlations out for the week. So you're gonna have kind of a 2-hour thing on Monday mornings with your peeps. Plan correlations out, divide them up. It doesn't need to be the same person running correlations all week long. That's kind of unnecessary, and it's good for the team to see some different flavor and different people up teaching their stuff. So correlation meetings will be at 11 on Mondays. We are okay as the summer goes on, by the way, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, to move these meetings up earlier. I'm okay with it. Like ET should get tightened up a little bit, and correlation can move up in the day to where you're doing meetings if you want to be at 10 o'clock, 10:30. So this isn't like you have to do it this way schedule. This is as a company, we recommend this schedule for your team, but if you want to move up meetings a little bit, but use a similar framework, we're okay with that. We support it. Just communicate with us on that. So generally speaking, we don't want managers knocking with reps in prime time. So you're gonna go knock with reps. We want it to be kind of first thing in the day. And honestly, like you shouldn't be knocking with more than 2 people a day. Early in the summer, like 2, 3 a day, I think is probably as heavy as it should be. As the summer goes on, like if you have a rep you really need to get with because he's just really struggling and he sent you recordings and you're just not finding a way to help them out, then you can go knock with them. But we really want to knock with reps less this year in general and really utilize correlations and training in the mornings so that you guys can set that high ceiling and really lead from the front in terms of your personal production. We're going to talk about that in St. George, just best practices on that, utilizing recordings, just ideas to support your reps and lead from the front, like tactically, right? We're going to work till dark. That's going to be our theme this year. We're going to get sales after dark. And then in the evening time, this is important. You're going to connect with reps and you're going to find out what worked that day, who struggled, have those conversations. So when you get home at night, you're gonna have those conversations, right? Saturdays, last year we made a nice shift and we're just gonna work full days on Saturdays. We're gonna do a lunch in the middle of the day. You can do that with your car group, try to keep it kind of shorter. And then honestly, like we're gonna just knock full days on Saturdays, and you can do team dinners at dark. Like after dark, you can do team dinner still and go There's a lot of restaurants that stay open.
McDonald's,
Late.
Arby's,
Yeah.
Burger King.
Yeah. What was Elder saying about Arby's? So there's options. Get intentional with it. You can still do team dinners. Like do team dinners, just do them after dark. And Saturdays, our mindset and our mentality going into this year is whatever production I'm doing, my team's doing on weekdays, we're doubling down on Saturdays. So if we're selling 20 a day, 30 a day as a team, we're doubling that on Saturdays. It's a big payday, and we're going to fully lean into crushing it on Saturdays this year. So anyway, here's the schedule. I think most people's reaction to that is like, okay, summer's gonna be imbalanced, right? Like, which it is. Like, the honest truth is if you're married, you gotta set the expectation with your spouse that this is going to be an imbalanced summer. If you're single, you need to tell yourself, like, I'm going to be super imbalanced, and I need to create systems in my life for strategic imbalance. Tony Robbins he uses this phrase all the time, and he talks about strategic imbalance. When you guys hear this phrase, what comes to your mind? Strategic imbalance. Any thoughts? Just thinking of summer, right? Like, we're obviously very imbalanced, but it's on purpose. So just like, what comes to your mind on that front, Mason?
I think a lot of people like today think that like your life should be totally balanced, right? So you get like your morning routine, you do like a workout and this and this and this, and like there's a million things that you should balance in your life. And the way that I see strategic imbalance is you can have, in order to have that kind of lifestyle, or like a lifestyle where you hit all the boxes.
Yeah.
There are times that you need to focus on certain things and prioritize certain things.
Yeah.
So like in summer, like maybe your fitness can't be number one. You can't spend 2 hours in the gym every day like Dallin West does.
Yeah.
But you can still do little things that like are gonna keep you good, but like your focus is knocking doors.
Yeah.
And in the off season, maybe if like your health is a big thing for you, like
Swing the pendulum back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can go spend your 2 hours in the gym every morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What other thoughts, Chad and Carter?
I think that for everything, there's a time of the season. Kind of like Thomas was saying, there is no such thing as vacationing all year round. You have to plant the seeds in order to enjoy the rewards.
Yeah.
And I think that the summertime is a perfect time to just be really purposeful in everything that you do, but also just be aware of how everything that you do affects you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something really beautiful about like being fully consecrated towards anything, like for a period of time. And like you're all in on this one part of your life for a couple of months. There's a lot of beauty in that. And that's not forever. It's just not. It's not forever. It's a short window of your life. But like I throw up that schedule and it's like, that's a lot of work. It is. Like it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and it's even more work for the people in this room because at 9 o'clock, if you're just a rep and you come home, like it's time to decompress and eat and chill and like not worry about work or not talk about work. But when you're the leader, now it's like, okay, we're off the doors, everyone's off the doors. Now I turn into therapist, or now I turn into like, I gotta go breathe belief into people, or I gotta talk to the service partner because X, Y, and Z happened. So you're up earlier. A lot of times in the morning, you're talking with the service side and trying to button up things. It's long hours. And so the main thought is like, this will be imbalanced. Embrace it. Going into it, you have to kind of make peace with the desert, right? And understand that that's what this is. And I'm going to get into this in a minute, but it's like, for that reason, you have to be your conviction level has to be so high, and you have to be so clear on why you're doing this, Carter and then Tanner.
Yeah, just a quick thought, I guess, with that. Elder Bednar has a really good, I can't remember where he said this. It wasn't in conference or anything, but he was talking about how plate spinners, like those, I guess they're called plate spinners, the guys that have like 6 sticks and are balancing plates and spinning them.
I feel like there's an Asian lady that does that at the jazz game a couple times.
Yeah, probably the same thing.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how like those plate spinners, the plates aren't spinning at the same velocity at the same time, all of them at the same time, and that like the plate spinner has to put individual focus on each plate at different intervals of the show, right? And so it's the same thing here. There's going to be a temptation that like, oh, my life sucks right now because it's not balanced. It's like, just embrace the imbalance. I'd much rather be imbalanced with my time than imbalanced financially. Like there's a lot of people in my life that are like, I don't know how you can go work 5 months out of the year. It's like, well, I know how. Like, I'm grateful that I can provide for my family. I'll choose this imbalance versus like the opposite.
Yeah, and you're young, you know, and as life goes on, I promise you that as life goes on, you will be super grateful for the imbalance that you chose when you were in your 20s versus there's people that are, you know, 50, 60 plus that like they're still imbalanced, but they're imbalanced in the wrong ways. They don't get to go be there with their kids or their grandkids, and you're gonna want that. And so like you're paying the price now so that you can pay the price later, right? That's the idea. So let's embrace that and love it, and it's what we do, right? I legitimately think of our thing as like an athlete. Like athletes, it is nonstop. They work so dang hard, and it's for a decade maybe. And then the rest of their life, money is literally not an issue for them, ever, right? Unless there's like some documentaries where people really blew it, but like for the most part, as long as they had a financial advisor. But yeah, Tan, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I mean, with strategic imbalance, like strategic, there's an end game, right?
Yes.
And
Love
so
that.
you're doing all these things for your why, your purpose. Last year, I worked a full-time job doing accounting work so that I could understand why a desk job sucked compared to what I was doing over the summer. And then I would do 5 to 6 hours every single night after that full-time job training reps. And I'd leave the house at 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. I get back at like 10:30 every night. And my wife's like, why are you doing this? This is the worst. Like, I never see you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. You have Sunday with me. That's okay. But like, I would tell her, I was like, you're going to see at the end of August, you know, September timeframe, like what all of this work went towards. And it went towards buying properties. It went towards traveling the world. And like, she gets that now, but there was an end game to all of that. And it was the same thing over the summer too.
Yeah.
So you're making sacrifices, but it's intentional sacrifices. If they're not intentional, then there's no strategic imbalance. It's just imbalance.
Yeah. Also, you made it count, right? Like, so when I think of the word strategic, it's like, I'm not just imbalanced. If I'm gonna go be imbalanced, then it's going to be strategic and I'm going to make it count, right? And you made it count. You made a ton of money, bought another 3 doors this year, traveled to how many countries? Like 6 countries or something. Make it count. That's part of the strategic, right? If I'm gonna go be there, like why in the heck did you choose to move to Missouri or Oklahoma or New Hampshire and like sit at a gas station and not work? Like, why are you there? Go home, you know? Like go be balanced if you're not gonna make it count, right? So Jenna, I want you to share the thing you were sharing with me before training real quick.
Oh yeah, so I mean, I've been doing this since I was like 17 and I have been really blessed to go through college. You know, like all of you. Anyway, but I think I've kind of taken it for granted because I've never had to like try to pay for college on a normal like salary. And so anyway, I picked up a job that's like 20 an hour and I'm working 20 hours a week, and that's just been like a couple weeks later I've been working and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it's like $400 a week or something, and like I make that easy in a day. Like, what am I doing? So it's been really great.
Love that. Yeah, I think that a lot of us, our progression was like high school, hourly job. This sucks. Let me try something different. But it's funny, like talking to some of you guys where you're like, I've done summer sales. It's like one of my first jobs. Like Tanner and Jenna just mentioned, it's like you're used to making $50 to $100 an hour, and then you go back to working another job, and it's like, to some level, it's like you have to pay the price somehow, right? And so, anyway, let's just buy into this idea of strategic imbalance. I have created a cool little journal. I copied my friend Blake, and it has a little bit of a different feel to it. But I'm going to give these out at our leadership retreat. The G stands for goals, the P stands for prayer, and then the S stands for study. And basically it's a routine that'll take 20 minutes, but I just want people to get so dang clear on why they're doing this, right? Like the why will make the how easier. And Tanner just mentioned like the reason why he was able to go do 4 or 5 months away from his spouse last year was because I know his why was massive and clear, and he did this last year. Like it was an everyday thing, started journaling, started getting really clear on his goals. All of you guys that did epic things last year, it's because you got really clear on your goals. And so we're gonna give you guys tools and resources this year, company-wide, leadership-wide, to stay really closely aligned with your purpose. And we want you to be doing this daily, super often, so that when you have these moments where you are looking at your spouse or you're like looking at your own schedule and you're like, man, like there are some things that are getting a little bit like out of balance. Just to remind yourself, this is because it's strategic, it's not without end. Like it's a short-term thing in my life. And these are the 10 reasons why I'm doing this. Like this job, this income, this skill set, this community feeds all these parts of my life. So we'll have a hard copy of these at the leadership retreat, and it'll come with kind of a swag pack that we're going to give out to everyone. Creating systems for better discipline. So I've shared this. I know that some of you guys, older dogs, have heard me teach this, but this is one of my favorite principles, and I want to talk through it real quick. So who knows who John Maxwell is? You want to know who John Maxwell is? John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors. I've read like 3 or 4 of his books. He's written over 100 books. So if you've ever tried to, like, for me, like I try to write a paragraph and I'm like running out of words and ideas. Like 100 books. It's insane, right? He's such a smart person. I admire him so much. He's written so many cool books on leadership and so many things that I really love. Anyway, I was there in person one time when he came and spoke. And he talked about this idea of he called it the rule of 5. And he actually used his self as the example. And he was like, people ask me all the time, how in the heck have you written over 100 books? Like, how do you do that? And this is before AI, right? Like he's writing, like he's an amazing thought leader, literally writing amazing books. And he said, I have written over 100 books and become who I am today. And I've done what I've done at my age because of something called the rule of 5. And his rule of 5 is basically every single day in your life, you have 5 things that they're non-negotiables that you do every single day in your life. And he said for him, for example, for writing all these books, and he has 5 things. I think it's like write, read, file, ask questions, and something else. But it's like 5 things that he does every day, like whether he's sick. And he goes, his presentation is really cool. He's like, on Christmas, do I do it? Yes. Do I do it on my birthday? Yes. Do I do it on Valentine's Day? Yes. Like, so he's just like, I just do it. Like it's a non-negotiable thing that's become part of my life because I'm aligned with what I want out of life. Like, what is my purpose? So the rule of 5 is the thing that feeds his purpose and his vision for life, right? So I've thought about this principle a lot in terms of like you guys and us and myself. And I thought we could maybe just brainstorm like what would be some best practices for a rule of 5 in the summer that would help you guys both lead from the front and then also bring your people with you. So what are some best practices that you guys maybe would want to implement this year as a part of your rule of 5 that are just non-negotiables? Yeah.
For me, I never knocked the door after 1.
Love it.
There's always, before I was like always trying to be the first one out like Cam, like it makes a huge difference.
Love it.
I think my power hour was 1 o'clock and I usually sold like 3 accounts in the first hour.
Love it.
It's like, why would you not take advantage
Yeah,
of that?
so silly not to. So that's an input. And I want all 5 of these, by the way, to be inputs, right? Like you might not be able to control how many deals you get around 1 o'clock, but you can always control whether you're on the doors at 1. Yeah. Like the time you show up and clock in every day, you can always control it. So Tanner's rules of 5 last year was I don't knock a door after 1 o'clock. Like I always knock before 1 o'clock. Imagine how powerful even just that one thing, if you just have that one thing, a rule of 1 even, how different your summer looks, right? What are some other ones? Cam?
I mean, almost everyone in here is gonna be either a manager or team lead, but I always get my work done as a manager that night. I never wake up and have work to do.
So that's area. What else? Like
Area, I call my people, I talk to the service side, I make sure areas, like everything's planned out for even the week, correlations done, I assign motivational messages, like it's all done the night before. I wake up and if there's a problem, I could tweak it.
Yeah.
But I'm never in a rush at correlation and like, even my first summer I saw, like sometimes managers would be like, we don't have this ready. It's like, I was always there early,
it.
just
Yeah.
waiting for people to be available.
Yeah.
Never working on tasks I could have done at midnight the night before.
Yeah, that's rad. I love that. That's a great one. What else?
It's a little something personal for me, but, and I know it might not be for everyone, but I eat a massive breakfast.
Yeah.
If I don't get my food in the morning.
Chad had this gnarly looking breakfast and this, oh man, it was like a little bowl, this big bowl, and he had these meat patties with like spaghetti. I was like, that's your breakfast, bro? It was wild.
Yeah, if I don't eat a massive breakfast or meal before the goalies, then I don't know what it is. I need the nutrition to keep it going.
I love that. No, I love that. Like your body, you're like an athlete in the summertime. If you're hungry and trying to go eat lunch at 2-3 o'clock middle of the day, like you're losing money. Tanner's selling 3 deals the first hour. Like you just lost $1,000 because you went to Taco Bell, you know? So I love that. Eat a big breakfast. Like I eat breakfast with protein, X amount of grams of protein every morning. Like every morning. I have to. It's like one of my rules of 5, right? Yeah.
Even when my scooter dies, like at the end of the night, I try to hit 500 plays.
Love it.
Like I try to hit any callbacks I got, like even if it's like 2 to 3 miles away, I'm still gonna hit it.
Yeah. So maybe it's like I knock 5 doors after dark every night. Like every night, right? Non-negotiable is one of my rules of 5.
This is spiritual, and so this is obviously like personal, but I don't go a day without doing some kind of scripture study and prayer. Cause like I need God so
Yeah.
badly doing this job. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
And like I need all the help I can get. So I'm gonna do everything I can to like show them like, hey, I'm putting my time and effort into like bringing my piece to the table.
Amen. I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's a non-negotiable. I gotta do it. It's like oxygen to me on the doors. Like that's one of my main 5. Yeah, Jenna.
The other one is journaling, and one thing that I did was I'd write down at the end of the day or even the next morning what I was grateful for, or like what was cool about the day before, just kind of like keeping it positive.
Yeah.
And then I'd set an intention in my journal for the day.
Mm.
And then that next day I'd follow up and be like, did I knock the $100 or whatever? So it created accountability, gratitude, like there's just a lot of.
Yeah. Love that. Thanks for sharing that. Mason.
I think reflecting on your why, that was something a lot that I would do like on the doors. I'd be like, okay, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Everybody just help keep things in perspective. When like a day sucked or like someone yelled at me, I'd be like, okay, like that sucks, but like think big picture here, like zone out a little bit.
Love it. Yeah. Hard.
Something I realized I needed like a rule of 5 towards the end of the summer,
Mhm.
and so one of mine was I'm gonna hit 100 boards every single day, no matter how
Yeah.
long it takes,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? And that kept me super consistent, and it helped me get out of like a massive sales slump.
Yeah. Yeah. You finished strong.
Yeah.
It felt like your trends followed Ryan's suit. Like the innings get better with time. They ran. You hit the ramp. baby. Yeah. That's awesome. I love this. And so my homework that I have for you is I've already been beating this drum of find your top 10 and write your top 10 down often. But I also want you pre-summer to get committed to what are your non-negotiable, what's your rule of 5, right? So to close this thought out, John Maxwell talks about how what that does in your life is it's like taking an axe to a tree. You're trying to cut a tree down, right? So your goals are like this tree that you're just trying to chip away at every single day. And when that tree falls, like you've accomplished your goal, you've finished the mission, right? And there's these trees and these goals that look super big and overwhelming and scary. But when you take 5 whacks at that tree with an axe every single day, man, like, and he does, you should watch his video. It's so dang cool. I should have just like posted it so he could teach this principle. But he just teaches this principle of like every day I wake up and I do my 5 and it's just like boom, 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 right? And after one day, it's like, that was a good day, but those good decisions compound and they compound and they compound. And then what inevitably happens? Like a year down the road, 2 years down the road, what happens to that tree? Like it just has to fall down. Like physics make it fall down. It has to, right? And so your goals will be accomplished if you will control 5 things, 5 inputs, and find the ones that are the highest and best use of your time, right? So that's my homework for you in terms of just your goals this year and your discipline. So what's gonna happen is when you have those disciplines, you don't have to go rely on motivation, right? Motivation, cool incentive gets announced. We're going to freaking Fiji this year. Like, oh, that's sick. I'm gonna go work super hard today, right? How long does that last? A day? Yeah, until I go bagel one day, and then it's like, well, I'm not going to Fiji anymore. But like, I might as well just chalk it all up, dude, you know? So find your 5 and play your game, right? Leverage motivation. Like, we're gonna do things to motivate you and put some win in yourselves for sure as a company. We're trying to spend more money on it, and just like, we wanna do our part in that regard, but do your part and attach your success to your inputs. So you gotta do both. Results matter. If you have a big revenue goal this year, you wanna go do something epic, write it down every day and feed to your brain that that's where I'm headed. But also don't discount the process. And so that's an important piece. Okay, what time is it? We're gonna table this part. So we're gonna save this part for St. George. I had Cam was gonna kind of cover some of this stuff, but some of this stuff we've already talked about a little bit today, but I do want to do a deeper dive in just setting expectations. So when your team shows up in summer, one of the first things you're gonna do is literally on the whiteboard, you're gonna set the expectations. Welcome to our team. We have big goals here. We love you. And so because we love you, we have high expectations for you. And so we're gonna talk about that process. Next time we meet in St. George, we work those into our 3 pillars, right? Work ethic, mental toughness, and skill set. We're gonna talk about all this stuff. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, I guess let's take 5-10 minutes more and just talk through some key takeaways, and then we'll go to Tucanos and eat some yummy food. What did you guys learn today? What are some takeaways that you're excited to kind of just go ponder and implement going forward? Yeah, Jacob.
I really like the leading from the front, and I'm just really excited to see where we're gonna go this year as a company, just
Yeah.
because we have some, I mean, we're leveling up, everyone's gonna be selling better.
Yep.
And I just am excited to see how much better our CVs are, how much better our rookies sell, for, you know, that first year.
Yep.
I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's fun to chat through, like, how do we go raise our ceiling? It's exciting. What else, Mason?
I love what Cam said about what are our solutions. Like, I think personally, developing our reps is a big thing too, like not just so that they can sell with us, so they can have a better life in the future.
Yeah.
And that's a huge way to do that. It's open them find solutions.
Love that. I totally agree. Sometimes when we use that word vent, we don't, I appreciate that Cam shared that too, because sometimes when we just say vent up or vent to the right person, it's like, that's part of that's like the therapeutic part of it, but that doesn't move the needle or create better program or better,
Self-efficient reps.
yeah, like at the end of the day, if they're just venting, like, it's just like, we're just like one big therapy group. It's just like passing the buck down to the next person, right? Like punt, like please help me with this problem, because I'm not supposed to take this ball and punt it downwards. I'm just gonna punt it upwards now. So that's part of it. We want you to do that for your mental health, but for your sanity, like, we gotta find solutions. And so I appreciate that too. Dal, do you have something?
Yeah. The big thing is just reducing all the variables that would reduce the amount of sales we have. Like, but everything in the power of the person deciding what they want to buy.
Yeah.
Practicing every single, like, possible objection, how to handle this, how to handle emotion, how to do everything. That way, there's no excuse to not do good sales.
Yes, I love it. Do everything you can in your power. I think Down West had something in the chat.
I like when you're talking about we must have a breakthrough, and something that I've just been kind of thinking is like, what's my 4-minute mile?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that all of us should be thinking for ourselves right now. Like, what is breaking through going to look like for the company, and then also for us?
Yep.
Because like I've lost reps to different companies this year, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks so bad, and I don't want to have that happen again, just because other reps think that they can find whatever they're searching for somewhere else. Like, I want them to think that they can find it here, and they can find it here with me.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do before now in the summer is like figure out what my 4-minute mile is going to be and how I'm going to get there.
I love that, dude. I love that. Yeah, it's frustrating. Like, losing reps to other companies because they have one person that has a story, right? like, I know multiple of you guys in this room, myself included, have lost recruiting battles this year because there's been one person in another company that has maybe a better or bigger marketable story than whoever the recruiter was, right? And so, like, that, why does that doesn't have to be a thing next year. I love that. Yeah, Chad.
This is gonna sound random, but I swear it ties in. When Mark Zuckerberg, he was working really hard to start his company, he was going through the decision fatigue. So what he did is he always wore the same jeans and always wore the same shirt for X amount of time. And it just helped, if that little thing just helped him with his fatigue, decision fatigue, and also just finding some peace and consistency. And I was
Yeah.
reminded of that when Tanner was talking about finding a good routine that works for you and keeping it consistent, finding peace and consistency. When Cam was he mentioned that he takes care of his schedule, he does everything the night before. In the morning, if needs be, he tweaks it, but just making everything, finding the peace and consistency, making some sort of routine to make your life the next day easier, more manageable, so you can focus on finding your purpose in balance.
Yeah, amen. I love that. I love that as a theme of today's talk, because like there's so many stinking uncontrollable variables throughout the day, weather, competition, doors, whatever. So it's like, how do I take all the other stuff and make it predictable so that I just can, I'm not having to like play that game both internally and externally. It's really, really great. Let's do one or two more and then we'll head out. Yeah, Jenna.
Like you said about following the hard stuff, and I think that's really applicable for life right now, that a lot of these things, even like the five necessary things in our day, that stuff we can apply right now. And I just want to be better at like embracing the stuff, the little sucks of the day now, so that when I get there, it's just better.
I love that. I think that is something we should start now. So like that homework, I don't table that till April or May, like find your 5 non-negotiable things, right? And find your rule of 5 and let's build them into our schedules now, right? Like whether it's what time I wake up, whether it's whether I get a workout in, whether it's what I'm eating, whether it's you know, even like school, like go create those non-negotiables with your school, and then you can translate some of those things and change them to summer focus when the summer comes. But like confidence comes from like having proof, like undeniable proof of like, I am the type of person that says that does what I say I'm gonna do. And so we can start that right now, you know? So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's start that right now. Clear goals and then non-negotiable inputs, and that will lead to massive impact, results, and just a fun year. And I'm super stoked for it. It's going to be a heck of a ride. So anyway, I love you guys. Please come to St. George. It's going to be a blast. We're going to go deep on this stuff and really like set the tone for the rest of the year. So thanks for being here.